How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Drew Johnson. You can find both of us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Dalton_Trigg, at Coach Drew 33. Give us a follow there. Definitely go subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That's really taken off for us over the summer, and we're just continuously building on that. Go leave us some comments and some likes and all that good stuff. So, guys, the Mavs season is officially underway. They got started on Wednesday night against the San Antonio Spurs. It was the second game on ESPN. All the hype coming into that game was around Victor Wembanyama, and I mean for good reason. He appears to be a generational talent. Nobody's ever seen anything like him before. So I mean, I get it. I get the hype, but it was Dereck Lively, the number 12 overall pick, that ended up kind of stealing the spotlight from Wembanyama. He had I got the box score pulled up here, but Lively in his first ever game, and he didn't start, and we'll get into that here in a little bit, how weird all that was. But in 31 minutes off the bench, Lively ended up with 16 points, 10 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block, and shot 7 of 8 from the field. And he was a team high by far, plus 20 on the night. The next highest was Tim Hardaway Jr. at a plus 9. So Lively was incredible. He even said like it was more than even what he expected going into his first ever NBA game. Just to give people some perspective, and by the way, guys, I'm having some people do some work on the outside of my house. So if you hear a weird noise, I've tried to get as far away from that as possible, but you still might hear something. So just a disclaimer for everybody. But anyway, so just to put into perspective, how good Lively was. His whole year at Duke, his freshman year at Duke, the most points he ever scored in the game was 13 points, and he did it on 2 separate occasions, I believe. Mm-hmm. So he's already surpassed that in his first real NBA game with 16 points. He worked the pick and roll with Luka and Kyrie masterfully. He was great. I mean, his screen setting is amazing. High energy, not just on ball defense, but his ability to help others, when they mess up and let somebody drive by him. He alters people's shots even if he doesn't get the block. He only has 1 block in the box score, but he altered a lot more than just one shot. So we've heard all the hype and Tyson Chandler taking him under his wing, and he came on this podcast over the summer and said that he is looking to do the dirty work to make things easier for Luka and Kyrie, and he's backed up everything he said so far. So excellent debut for your guy Dereck Lively. What are your thoughts on D Live getting his feet wet?
What can I say now? But he I was very pleased by what I saw. Unfortunately, I had to watch highlights because, well, I have to get up for practice every morning at 3:30 a.m. So that requires me to go to sleep at an earlier time. But
that's understandable.
Yeah, it's something, but that's neither here nor there. No, one thing that I noticed is like what you were saying. His shot blocking, I think, is a little underrated. Mostly because, he only registered 1, but it's like you said, he was able to alter so much more, and he is just a tremendous off-ball defender. But one thing else that I noticed is, you mentioned it earlier, the screen setting. That was kind of a little bit of a concern at the beginning. My phone's ringing. But
there you are. Yeah. Okay, we're good.
Sorry. I'll repeat myself, but screen setting was a little bit of a concern for him coming into the league, and I remember people talking about it in summer league. But last night he appeared to have taken a tremendous step forward in that regard. So he's exactly who the Mavs need him to be. He fills that role perfectly. And that's the reason I've been harping this entire time on why we needed to get him.
He just works so hard. Like every time there's a loose ball, or like even if the opposing player, if he has to reach down for the ball, real low, maybe it's not a loose ball, but it has the potential to be. Like he is just in the mix. He is always active and trying to knock the balls loose, and that kind of activity is something the Mavs have greatly needed. And I mean, shout out to Grant Williams too. I mean, very quietly, he ended up with 17 points, 6 rebounds, and a block himself in just 35 minutes. He shot 6 of 11, 4 of 8 from 3. So, I mean, if you watched the game like from the first quarter through like halfway through the third quarter or something like that, you'd be watching it and thinking, where is Grant Williams? Mm-hmm. It's like you didn't really feel like he was doing much, but he came on strong. He hit his threes. He does all the little things on defense, like Lively, just at a different position. So, I mean, those are the types of plays that the Mavs were sorely missing last week. And look, the defense was not great. I mean, they gave up 43 points in the first quarter to the Spurs. But from that point on, they won every single quarter. And they played excellent defense in the last couple minutes of the game, which is when it matters the most. So, for to open the season with a brand new roster, lineups that haven't really played much with each other because of the injuries in preseason. You're opening on the road. You've got a really talented young team in San Antonio that was, hyped up and ready to get things rolling, and they couldn't miss to start the game. Mm-hmm. All things considered, that was a very, very nice season opening win for the Mavs. And, Luka, he did his thing. I mean, I text you, when we were talking, I said a ho-hum 30-point triple-double,
Well, it just really goes to show what we've come to expect out of him. And we really we're really quite spoiled in that regard. So
it's always so funny to me, 33 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals in 34 minutes, and he only shot 3 of 11 from deep. So it's like if he hits a couple more threes,
see, that's the thing. He hasn't gotten going yet. I mean, he's doing this just getting to the rim, taking high percentage shots. And there was a really interesting stat that I saw earlier whenever I was looking at this. Our points in the paint margin was fantastic, and we haven't had that. Like, we didn't have that at all last year, period. We were completely perimeter oriented. So, to see us targeting shots that are higher percentage and being able to get those more often, and it all goes back to having Dereck Lively. I think the pick and roll with Dereck Lively is what it all comes back to. So, and with Luka having a lob threat like Lively, you're able to see him snake pick and rolls and get to the rim whenever he wants because the defense has to be aware of Lively.
It was great, man. I mean, they like you said, the points in the paint, they won that battle 56 points to 46 points for San Antonio. They won the rebounding battle 48 to 45. Offensive rebounds, they had 4 more than the Spurs, and one of them was just crazy. It was, off of a Tim Hardaway Jr. miss from 3, Lively spun around at the top of the key and flew in and grabbed it like at its highest point off the rebound and dunked it back and fell down. And I was just like, oh, like it
all comes full circle.
It was one of those moments where it's like Dereck Lively II has arrived. It was great, man. And I know the Mavs are thrilled, that he has developed as fast as he has, because it's only going to get better the more he plays. I mean, he's 19 years old. First ever real NBA game. It's only going to get better from here. I mean, so I can't wait to see how he progresses and builds on top of what he's already done in his first game. Now, talking about this and how great he was, we have to bring up how confusing it was that Lively started all 4 preseason games. Now, look, it's not like Maxi Kleba was hurt during preseason. He played during preseason. So there was no indication whatsoever that it was a possibility that Kleba would start at center. And yet, opening night comes, Lively starts all preseason games, and then Jason Kidd just pulls the rug out from under everybody and starts Kleba, and also starts Derrick Jones Jr., which, we heard that he was – we heard – that one wasn't as surprising because we heard that he was in contention for a starting spot. But, I sent you a stat here earlier, and look, it is a very small sample size. So, I'm not saying this is, the end all be all, but small sample size, the lineup of Luka, Kyrie, Josh Green, Grant Williams, and Dereck Lively had an offensive rating of 145.5.
It's insane.
And had a defensive rating of 83.3.
That's insane.
And look, I get it. It is a very, very small sample size. But, the eye test is there too. You could tell that is the Mavs' best lineup when those guys are all out there together. So I know it doesn't matter. I know it matters more who finishes a game rather than who starts. But you want to start out ahead. You don't want to have to be playing from behind pretty much for the entire game. The Mavs didn't have their first lead in last night's game until like late in the third quarter. They started out in a 16-7 hole before the first timeout was called. So I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like Jason Kidd, and I don't want to be disrespectful because he has a brilliant basketball mind. He wouldn't be a Hall of Fame point guard if that wasn't the case. But sometimes I just feel like he likes to play mind games with these players. It's like Lively is a 19-year-old rookie. He started him all those preseason games, and now I feel like he's just like, okay, well, now the regular season is here. We'll just bring him off the bench now and see if it affects his psyche. See if he's mentally tough enough to handle that and still bring forth the effort needed to have a good game. And if that is the case, Lively passed that test with flying colors. Now, last season, if he did that with Christian Wood, that probably wouldn't have been the case. So if that was a test by Jason Kidd, then he passed it with flying colors. And I think he has earned the right to start going forward. Will he? I don't know. Yeah, it's gotten to the point where you know what should happen, but you also know how Kidd likes to operate. So I don't know what's going to happen, but all I know is when Lively is out there, he's going to be giving you maximum effort, and he does the things. I saw somebody on Twitter the other night. I think it was Tim Cato from the Athletic. He said something about, Dereck Lively does the type of 7'1" things that the Mavs just needed to be done last season. Just a guy that does 7'1" things, and that described it perfectly. So I don't know. We know what the starting lineup should be. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that there was any sort of reasoning behind that other than putting Lively through a mental test?
As a coach, you don't really want to play mind games with players in the midst of competition, like live competition, because you're trying to win. So I'm not sure that it was necessarily mind games, but I do have to wonder, what conversations were had between Kidd and Lively before that game.
Which might not have been a conversation because, it's like with Tim Hardaway Jr. coming into training camp, Kidd said something about, THJ is going to, have his sixth man of the year role or whatever. And then they asked Tim Hardaway Jr. about it, and he was like, oh, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. So there may not have been a conversation.
There may not have been. I don't know. That's odd. But, I will say this. What I do find to be interesting is even though Kleber got the start, Lively played starter minutes.
Right. Yeah.
So, I don't know.
And I'm cool with that. I'm 100% cool with that. I hate it when they get out to as slow of a start as they did.
I'm with you.
Like And the reason I hate it so much is because it's wasting Luka and Kyrie minutes. Like
Yep.
you want to maximize that. You don't want to have 5 to 6 minutes burned from Luka and Kyrie, and you've created a 9-point deficit for yourself because you didn't have your best players out there. So I mean, I don't know. That's my only gripe with it is like not only the slow start, but you're also wasting your superstar minutes.
Oh, it's infuriating. Just take it from someone whose teams have struggled to get going in the first quarter of a lot of games. You want your best lineup out there that's going to score points immediately because you need to set the tone. And it's so hard to come back. They did it last night, and kudos to them. But we don't need to be making a habit of this. So, I'm not Jason Kidd, but if I'm Jason Kidd, I'm giving Lively the start from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if that was a test, Lively passed it with flying colors. And, even if he doesn't start, and he told us this when we talked to him over the summer, it doesn't matter to him if he starts or not. You're going to get the same consistent effort every single night. He thrives to do the dirty work, and that's what he's going to do whether he's starting or coming off the bench, and that's a great thing for the Mavs going forward. So we've talked about Luka, we've talked about Lively, Grant Williams, Kleba struggling. Josh Green, fresh off of that 3-year, $41 million extension, he was fine. I mean, he played 30 minutes. Even though he didn't start, like you said, starter minutes, 30 minutes. Shot 3 of 5, hit both of his 3-pointers that he took, and finished with 11 points. It was a +4 on the night, so he was fine. Josh Green did exactly what you want Josh Green to do. And then Kyrie, he's the last one we'll talk about from this game. Did not have a good shooting game. Only shot 10 of 24. Started out slow. I don't know if it was the jitters or he didn't play those last 3 preseason games because of groin soreness. So I'm sorry, he didn't play 2 of the preseason games because of groin soreness, and then he played the first 3 quarters of that Pistons game. But anyway, he may have had a little rust he was trying to shake off, and he was only 1 of 8 from 3.
Yeah.
But that 1 3-pointer came in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter when the Mavs were down 1 and they needed it the most. So shout out to Kyrie. He ended up finishing with 22 points, 6 assists, and a steal. Did not have a good shooting game, but man, he has a knack for showing up when you need him the most in the fourth quarter. And it was good to see him and Luka coexist. They all got their no. I mean, look, one of the things about the last couple of seasons for the Mavs, and my guy Kirk Henderson with Mavs Moneyball, he's pointed this out a few times. One of the most infuriating things about the Mavs is that they don't tend to have regular type of NBA box scores. Like a lot of times when you look at their box scores, it's like Luka 30, 40 plus points, and then everybody else has single digit. Like there were several times last season where the Mavs had all of their non-Luka starters were in single digit scoring. Reggie Bullock had several games with the 0-0-0-0 line. Like it's just, this is something that wasn't the case last night. I mean, you look down the Luka with 33, Kyrie with 22, Tim Hardaway Jr. and Grant Williams with 17 apiece, Lively with 16, Green with 11. I mean, that's good scoring distribution there. That is a well-balanced attack.
And you want to know something? That isn't even us playing at our max. It's like you said, Kyrie had an off shooting night. I mean, we weren't just firing on all cylinders. We were just executing. I mean, that's all that was. We just executed. Now, I would like to see us get it going earlier, but I think a lot of that has to do with who we have in our starting lineup.
Yeah, and I mean, I know the Spurs are young and they're inexperienced to a degree, but when your stars combine to shoot 4 of 19 from deep, and you still win by 7 on the road, that's pretty solid. I mean, that's
pretty good.
That's a good feeling to start out the season on the road. And now they'll turn their attention to Friday night when they'll take on Kyrie's former team, the Brooklyn Nets. It'll be the first time he's played against his former team since the trade. So, the home opener, you'll have the home fans getting into it, assuming that they're not all at the Rangers World Series game opener. Shout out to the Rangers, by the way. That's going to be fun. But yeah, home opener, you'll have that great energy for that. Kyrie's going to be hyped up to not only bounce back from his 10 of 24 shooting night against the Spurs, but to also potentially give it to his old team. there were some hard feelings there, so we'll see how it goes.
40. I'm calling it now. He's going for 40. Like,
I can see it.
Coming for the net.
I can see it. I really do think he's going to shake off that shooting performance, and it's going to be a fun one at American Airlines Center on Saturday. But yeah, man, overall, couldn't have asked for a better start to the season. You had a little bit of adversity there. They overcame it. All your guys, your starters and your key contributors, they did what you wanted them to do. Mm-hmm. So, you can fine tune the defense a little bit. Start your best players at the beginning of the game, get off to a better start there, and you should be good because, aside from that first quarter, like if they had started off a little bit better, this game would have been a blowout because, like I said, they won every quarter after that. And the third quarter, they won 32-23. So, I mean, it's all there. I mean, they just have to keep refining and, keep building as the season progresses. And look, Wembanyama, we'll talk about him briefly before we take off here. He was solid. I mean, he had 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, a block, stuff in the stat sheet. He can do a little bit of everything. He was 6 of 7 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3. Only played 23 minutes because he got in foul trouble. He had 5 fouls. He also had 5 turnovers. So it was a good debut, wasn't a perfect debut. Kind of like, Luka, he didn't have a great debut either, but, Luka.
It's just different, man. It's just different.
Yeah.
And, he's going to have to adjust to the physicality. He's going to have to adjust to the speed. Those are going to be the 2 big things. But once he does, watch out.
Yeah.
If he can stay healthy, watch out. Because, I mean, that's the speed especially, I think, is what contributed to his foul trouble. He would just get caught doing things that he would normally do in Euro ball that he would be able to convert on. And because of the speed and athleticism of the people in front of him, you can't get away with that here. Plus, refs called a little different in the NBA.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like Grant Williams told us last week. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before. Every day is just passing, but, when we talked to Grant Williams, he was saying, like, that's the main goal. We're going to be as physical as possible with him. Mm-hmm. And you could tell, how it affected him. I mean, it got him in foul trouble. And, that ended up helping the Mavs out a lot. Now, I mean, at his size and the way he can shoot the ball, like if he's going to shoot 3 of 5 from 3 every night, if he can just get those fouls under control, oh, my God, dude, he is going to be unbelievable. And as his body matures and he adds weight through, being an NBA weight room, and it's going to be the same for Lively. I cannot wait to see these future matchups between Lively and Wembanyama going forward. This Mavs Spurs rivalry has been amazing for years. It's going to be even better. I'm so excited for this.
It's going to be great. But I mean, if Wembanyama puts on weight and actually grows in his potential, he is a literal monster from freaking.
He is.
Like, he is a literal monster.
The stretched out arm,
it's
Michael Jordan.
It's ridiculous. Like, I saw this. I'm sure you've seen this footage too. It was one of the Spurs trainers was like doing something with him, working on his like defensive footwork or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like moving his hands and stuff. It didn't even look real. The dude looked like a squid. Like, it didn't even look real. Like, it looked like his arms were flopping, but they weren't. It's just that they're that long. Like, his
literally looks like something from a horror movie.
Yeah, he looks like Slender Man. Like, his forearms are longer than my whole arm. Seriously.
It's crazy.
It's insanity. Like, it ain't right.
Well, all I know is he is in a good spot, to not only develop physically, but with his, his basketball. He's already got a high basketball IQ, but it's only going to be enhanced playing for Coach Popovich. So he is in a great spot there, and this rivalry is going to be. And look, I said it going into the game. I know the Spurs weren't good last year, but they have a bunch of really good young players. They made some fun additions over the offseason aside from Wembanyama. So I knew coming into this, I was like, this is probably going to end up being closer than what people would want.
Yeah.
but I did expect the Mavs to ultimately be too much for the Spurs, and they did pull away late. So it was good. The Mavs, they're undefeated. They're on pace for 82-0, which is great. We'll see. We'll see if they can keep it up going into Friday's matchup with the Brooklyn Nets. But guys, look, we appreciate it. Just wanted to come on here and recap that first game. It was very exciting. We had a great time watching it, and seeing the potential of Dereck Lively. And we knew Luka was going to do his thing, but Lively, this is everything we could have hoped for in his debut. Outshining Victor Wembanyama. That's great. Now we'll see if he can do the same thing against Nick Claxton and the Brooklyn Nets on Friday. So, guys, appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of your day. If we don't come on here, I'm not sure if I may end up doing like a solo pod sometime Saturday if I have time. If I don't, it'll be sometime Monday or Tuesday, but we'll work out all that. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But appreciate it, guys. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.